Today's video is going to be a case study on how we did $10,000 to $15,000 months on average furniture flipping, particularly couch flipping. So we really niched down. We're going to talk to you more about what reselling is and what flipping is, and a little bit about our background. Tanner's been doing it way longer than me, so he's going to talk about his journey before we joined forces and did it together. But first we'll get into what is reselling, what is flipping, in case any of you who have never seen this before or don't know what that is, or maybe don't have a really good understanding. So
reselling or flipping is basically, in the simplest terms, just buying a product low and selling it high. So like Mariah said, we flipped all kinds of things. I started off in my journey when I was 14 years old. I picked up a bunch of junk on the side of the road during fall cleanup in my hometown. People were throwing away all kinds of things. We even did this together when we first met. Picked up lawnmowers, snowblowers, all kinds of things. Brought them back to my home, my parents' house. I was living with them at the time. Got everything cleaned up and running again, and I ended up selling all the lawnmowers and snowblowers for about $1,000 in a matter of 2 weeks. And then after that, I decided I wanted to get into flipping cars because my brother-in-law, he was flipping cars, so I was kind of always in his back pocket. Learned a lot of mechanical skills on like how an engine works and what to look out for. So I bought my first car with that money. It was only $100. It was a 1987 Honda Civic hatchback. I bought it for $100, and then I put a little bit of work into it, and I ended up fixing it, and then I sold it for like $1,500. I think I ended up making like $900 to $1,000 profit on that car. And then throughout high school, so since flipping that first car, then throughout high school, I ended up flipping over 100 cars.
yeah, so typically with reselling and flipping, as I'm sure you've picked up on, it's usually, or always usually, used items. You can flip new or like gently used items through getting things in bulk, and that's kind of how we scaled up our operation. So the $10,000 to $15,000 months was just what we wanted to make from it. It's what we were comfortable making. We scaled up to a $20,000 month utilizing just a storage unit and reselling couches and a single bed truck. So we definitely scaled up beyond that, but that's on average where we'd sit every month, where we were comfortable making that income. And so we scaled up beyond that, selling pallets of couches and like furniture, but we've sold together a lot of things. So we team up on cars, I would detail them and sometimes bring the cash, and he would bring all his expertise with fixing it because that was the most time consuming part.
Yeah.
And then we'd flip books together when we moved down here to Arizona from North Dakota. And we did that for about a year. That was really fun. We scaled that up too. So we have a lot of experience in different niches with reselling. So different niches would be like cars or mechanical items, electronics. Some people flip clothes, furniture, cars. There's so many things, books, CDs, DVDs. Yeah. But essentially, yeah, there's like anything that you can find low, like Tanner said, and either add value to it or know you could sell it for a higher price, usually with used items most of the time. That's reselling, and you just take the profit between that. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you can flip and how to find opportunities. So first, we're going to talk about market research, because that's something that's important to keep in mind, because when we were in North Dakota, it looks a little bit different there in a small town versus in a bigger city like Phoenix and Phoenix, Arizona. Then we're going to talk about your skill set, because obviously that plays an important factor, like what you like doing, what you have some knowledge in, and then niche identification. So based on those things, what could you do when you pair up, market research, your skill set, and what you like doing in your current resources? So we'll talk a little bit about market research first. So market research essentially is deciding, like, based on the size of your city, what is sustainable. So you can look at sites like Facebook or OfferUp, see what other people are selling, see how much of it is selling, and see if it's sustainable. So like in North Dakota, there's not enough couches to flip. There's not enough.
Yeah, in our small hometown, Bismarck, North Dakota, there's not enough of like a cycle of people moving in and out. Often, like in Phoenix, I think the population, depending on the season, is like 5 to 7 million.
I think in surrounding areas, yeah.
Yeah, so there's always people moving out and moving in. So there's always people. The reason why we honed in here on furniture is because there's always somebody moving out and there's always somebody moving in. And
not a lot of people have trucks, so we would offer delivery, and that would help us sell things quicker and for a higher price. So like with market research, for instance, in North Dakota, something that was sustainable for Tanner was cars. He was able to usually get as many as he wanted. I think it depends on market and economy fluctuations and how many are for sale.
And I really niched in there because it's in the Midwest. It snows a lot, so a lot of people like all-wheel drive. So a lot of people back home, they drive Subarus. Common problem with Subarus is the head gaskets would always go out. So people, if you took it to the dealership, it would usually cost more than the car's worth to get it fixed. So people would list them online. That's where Tanner would come in. I would buy them for cheap, usually like $500 to $1,000, sometimes more. Usually it was just the head gaskets that went out. I could buy the parts for like $300. It would take me 8 to 10 hours to fix everything. Mariah would help out getting it detailed and cleaned up. Then we'd list it for sale. Usually have it sold a couple weeks max.
Usually when we did it together, we'd make like $1,000 to $1,500 each.
Yeah. Because we would split the profit. So on average, usually around $2,000 to $3,000, sometimes more. But I'd say average flip on a car that I made back home around like $2,500 to $3,000.
And me doing that while I was like late high school, early college was like amazing, seeing my savings build up and have just that, money, when before the most I was able to work was maybe a couple hours after school in high school and college. And so I would make maybe like $500 to $800 a month. So then seeing like chunks like $1,500 come in, that was the first time that ever happened to me. So I'm like, wow, this is something that we could really do. We would even get up to like, if we really wanted to, we were both really focused. And before he moved and we did long distance for a little bit because he was in flight school, we could do like one car a week probably if we had the funds to keep going, because you'd maybe have one sitting for a couple weeks. So it was something super lucrative. We had quite a bit of supply, so that's where market research comes in. You just have to look and think, if you're in a snowy climate and you have mechanical knowledge, what's a popular car, what's something that people look into buying during different seasons. So it might be snow blowers or lawnmowers versus all-wheel drive cars. So just really pick and choose, based on the market you're in and the size. And like in Phoenix, we could really flip anything here. So that's the good part about being in a big city. And just a little bit north, there's a snowy town, so you could still probably flip Subaru since he has that knowledge. So that's where skill set comes in. Obviously, if you're not mechanically inclined, or you can't partner with somebody that's mechanically inclined or has like, a car trailer or a space to fix them, obviously it's probably not the best place to start. So you want to look at your skill set. If you don't have a general skill set around any of these niches, you can just look at your resources and maybe partnering with somebody that maybe has resources, so some money to start, the willingness to learn, and someone that can help guide you in the right direction. So, for me, for instance, I didn't really have like a specific skill set, but I just liked furniture and it's something I wanted to try. So I started out by, when we lived together, first moved here, I would fix up furniture like wood pieces, sand them and repaint them and just learn. And that's when we moved back here, because we moved to North Dakota for the summer and moved back here. We're like, that was something that was actually doing pretty well, and you just did it for fun and would make like $500 a week. So let's try it. And we did, and we realized it just took too much time for what we wanted to make, and like I just didn't want to do it for fun. I wanted to make a lot of money, and just our resources and being in a storage unit, we didn't have like a lot of electricity, be running saws and like all these things like I did when we had like our other apartment. I would do it in there, but at scale in a storage unit, we couldn't do that. So we're like, let's figure out things that don't need a lot of work as far as furniture. And then it kind of morphed into just doing couches because they were higher ticket and didn't require like as much work as furniture. Like you have to have a fan, letting things dry.
Yeah, sanding and painting stuff. Couches
ordering
pretty
parts.
Easy. Yeah, couches are pretty easy because, like I said, when somebody's moving out, usually most of the time they just sell off all their furniture, buy a couch pretty cheap. Like Mariah said, a lot of people don't have a truck. So we'd pick it up, clean it up, relist it with free delivery, and then usually have it sold within sometimes a few hours, a day or two, and then make a pretty hefty profit, and then just keep repeating that same cycle.
Exactly. So we just really got focused on what we wanted to sell. But furniture is great in general. Like I know and see a lot of people who have success flipping furniture, like desks, dressers, nightstands, things like that. And if that's something you have the space for, like a garage where you have the space to be able to do it and you have all the tools right there and the power and resources and everything, and that's what you really like doing, you can make good money doing that. But we it just didn't work for what we wanted to do. So we really got focused on something that would turn quick profits, something that didn't require a ton of work and a little bit higher ticket. So that's what we found really worked for us. Another thing, so books, CDs, and DVDs, that's something that we have experience in. That's obviously you're not going to flip and buy in necessarily the same areas. So a lot of what you can get on Facebook. You can put bandit signs. You can post something in your newspaper.
Thrift stores.
And so where you're going to get books, CDs, and DVDs isn't necessarily the same. So you can maybe get them from the same areas that you would get, or the same places that you would get the other things, like I said, couches, furniture, cars, but you're not necessarily going to sell them on the same place. So that's where that extra skill set comes in. And we would sell things on Amazon. Took quite a bit of learning. We lost quite a bit of money. So definitely I think the thing that worked for us was investing in somebody, being vested in mentorship, and pushed us in the right direction, and that was good for us. We learned quite a bit, and then we grew from there, and that was really fun. That was probably the most fun thing to flip. Besides couches was pretty fun, but I liked books and CDs and DVDs, just the day to day. It was fun. It was like
a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it's like a treasure hunt. That's what it feels like, because you go in and you scan all the books in the store, and it's just like really fun. So that's something I enjoy doing a lot. Then electronics, so if you have skills with electronics, and that's your thing, you really like doing, utilizing electronics, fixing them, that's your day-to-day, you're a gamer, and you have a lot of expertise in that, that'd be something to look into as well, because you probably know the value of things.
Yeah, we bought computers and printers and all kinds of things from people down here in Phoenix when we were scaling up and moving into our warehouse. We sourced things on Facebook Marketplace, and we bought our computers from a guy that's all he really flipped.
He refurbishes.
Yeah, he refurbished computers, and then he had printers, so he was flipping mainly just electronics.
Yeah, and it wasn't like super expensive, so I can't imagine what he was buying them for. I think his operation or his systems is he would get them like on an online auction. I'm not exactly sure.
Like a surplus thing too. I think like if schools or businesses are going out of business, I think there's like websites that you can go and bid on stuff like that and get it super cheap when you're buying like things in bulk.
Yeah. And then the last one would be clothes, shoes, bags. Those are like kind of lower to mid-ticket items, and that's really good if you love fashion or you kind of know the value. So this is for really any niche, knowing the value and kind of understanding what things can sell for. And a part of it's just learning and doing and putting yourself out there and trying. But a part of it also is kind of having the wantingness to learn that niche and learn what things could sell for, and basically maximizing what you can make off of it, and kind of understanding the brand and learning more about what you're selling. So that's a niche that we don't have experience in, but I know somebody that started out kind of doing something similar, refurbishing furniture, flipping things like that. They then scaled up and started getting new items, and now they're reselling clothes, but I don't think it's like through thrift stores and such. They get them in bulk, so they'll buy big pallets of them, and they sell them online. So similar to what we do with books and CDs and selling them on Amazon, they would sell them on online marketplaces, ship them all over the United States, and they get like hundreds of orders a week and do a really good job.
Yeah, and I actually connected with the guy that all he does is flips remotes, TV remotes. He makes $100K a year flipping TV remotes on Amazon or eBay. I mean,
it's crazy. See, like, there's so many even little things within all of these niches. So like remotes is a part of electronics. So don't think that like you have to do multiple things to make a decent income. You can pick even one specific little niche, and that's something that we've learned in business in general. The more specific and knowledgeable you can become in whatever you're doing, the more you can make. So like with couches, for instance, furniture or couches fall within furniture, the umbrella of furniture, and then you could just focus on flipping gray sectionals, and that's a niche that you can focus on. So there's definitely profit to be made in even every little niche inside of those umbrellas that we have listed. You just really have to make sure that your market can withstand that and that you have some skill set. You can definitely combine a couple, so you can do like furniture and couches, or you could do books and electronics and CDs and DVDs, those kind of things, but just make sure it's not taking away from each other, because sometimes if you just put all of your focus towards one thing, it's easier to grow that one thing. But Tanner, something he would actually do, we can touch on this. So seasonal, it wouldn't always work for him to flip cars in the winter. You would snowblow or work on flipping snowblowers and things. So I think you would still sell cars throughout the winter, but sometimes like can't remember what you were saying, but sometimes with seasonal, so like flipping furniture, maybe another.
Well, what I would do back home too, so I'd flip cars, but I'd also flip things like jet skis, boats.
Oh yeah.
Usually what I would do, so like a boat isn't going to sell very good in the winter, but it's a good time to buy one because you could buy it really cheap back home in the winter. So I'd buy a boat that maybe needed a little bit of work. I'd fix it up in the winter, and then in the summer I'd sell it and usually make a pretty hefty profit of like $3,000 to $4,000 on that boat. And then same thing in the summer. I would buy snowmobiles and snowblowers and stuff pretty cheap, and then wait until the first snowfall, list them for sale, and then that's, it's make that sale.
Yeah, so that's what you were talking about. I can't remember like what he said he would do.
Yeah,
but
so seasonal items back home, depending on the, if it was winter or summer. And then basically, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'd buy low. I'd have to wait a little bit sometimes, but then I'd sell it high.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can just kind of learn to predict, which just comes with skill and just really learning your market. But yeah, that's what he would do to kind of combat having seasonal changes, and just when he wanted to add more revenue, because I think flipping a snowblower is a little bit easier than a car and things like that. So, and it's quicker because people are looking. Sometimes when you're flipping a car, it can take a couple of weeks. With a snowblower, if it's snowing, people want it now. So it's just a nice thing to add in. You can add in things like that, but just don't do maybe couches and then clothes or something weird like that. That's going to take away from it. All right, so now next. But what I was saying is, essentially you don't want to combine maybe like couches and clothes, because that might be a little bit too hard to have your focus in two different places with completely unrelated niches. But next we're going to get into finding deals and negotiating, because, now that you maybe identified what you're good at, or maybe what your skill set is, or what resources you have, or what the market kind of looks like in your area, now you need to know how to find deals and negotiate. So first we'll talk about where to find deals, and this is pretty similar for every niche. But the best places and the easiest places to look, especially for beginners, is places like Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist.
Yeah, your local newspaper. You could put an ad out on there, or just go look in the classified section, see what people are selling. If you're looking for cars, another good place is most towns will have like an auction house where they'll go auction off used cars. That's something that I did. We also had a local marketplace in North Dakota called BizMan Online. That was more local, but yeah, for the main like bigger markets, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Craigslist.
Thrift stores, there's like physical places.
Yeah,
like
thrift stores are really good. You can find all kinds of stuff there: books, CDs, furniture, clothes, antique pieces, remotes, electronics, you name it.
Yeah.
For books as well, libraries, recyclers, schools.
There's like so many places, it's really endless. So basically what we're trying to teach you is how to be resourceful, how to find opportunities and seize those opportunities, because I think so many people, I think they say one man's trash is another man's treasure, and I think that this encompasses that really well and proves that you can really make money doing anything. Is just being able to see the opportunity and knowing what to do. So like for instance, that guy making $100K a year, selling remotes, reselling remotes, so old remotes, and then he'll flip them on eBay, you said, or something? Amazon, eBay?
eBay. And how, like I said in the beginning, how I started is just finding junk on the side of the road during fall cleanup and picking it up, being able to see the opportunity, like, hey, I know I could pick up these lawnmowers and snowblowers. I knew probably all of them weren't going to work. I think like I got like 70 or 80% of everything I picked up running. And then,
it was all free.
Yeah, it was all free. It was just my time invested in it and picking it up. Cleaning it up, usually just put fresh gas in it, and then everything ran. Pressure washed it, and then listed it for sale. And then, like I said, I had everything sold in a matter of a couple weeks.
Yeah, and we actually, Tanner still has to post the video, but we did a video when we went back home to North Dakota it was fall cleanup that time. So we did fall cleanup, and it was like the middle of fall cleanup too, we just realized that when we were there. So we started like in the middle of the week, and then just did it for like 2 or 3 days, and we made close to $1,000, maybe even a little bit more, and sold everything within like 2 or 3 days. So, we want to prove to you guys and show to you guys that you can really do it in any market, as long as you know how to find opportunities and you just have the determination. But he'll post that video. It's not out at the time that we're recording this, but we still have to post that.
Yeah, and then the next thing, so as far as negotiating and building a pipeline, so when you hone in and figure out what your niche is, whether it's cars, couches, whatever, what you're going to want to do is basically go and message everyone on potential couches that you're interested in, cars, and build like what I call a pipeline of just conversations with different people that are selling these items. And then what it just comes down to is negotiating and following up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you message somebody today, say they have a car listed for $1,500 and you only want to give them, 800, chances are the first time you ask them if they'll take less, they're going to say no. But if you just continue to watch that listing and continue to follow up every day, every other day, every week, as time goes on, the motivation is going to build up and the chances of them taking less is going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, especially if they feel like you're providing them a service. So I think with cars too, Tanner would post on Bizman or Facebook groups or places like that he would buy cars that aren't running. And that was a really good way because people are like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to deal with this. Has been sitting in my yard. Take it for $300 or whatever. And so that's another good way too without having to build that pipeline. But building a pipeline is just an additional way. So messaging people on Facebook and OfferUp, like you said, and just building a pipeline of like potential deals that you could do. And
the buyer or the seller doesn't determine the price. Just because something's listed for something, there's often times where we bought couches that were listed for over $1,000 that we ended up buying for like $200 or $300.
Sometimes even free.
Just because, for the simple fact, like I said earlier, people are in Phoenix for example, are always coming and they're always going. So somebody would usually list their couch or list all their furniture for sale, usually about a month before they'd move out of their apartment or their house. And then as time went on, they couldn't get their $1,000 for their couch. They know that we've been messaging them every other day, every week, saying like, hey, we can give you this price. We'll come get it today. The time, like I said, it's a timing thing. Time goes on. It's a few days before they need to move, and they're like, hey, if you come today, you can have it for $300. They need it out today, though. And then, boom, you need to get your ass there and pick up that couch.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we find deals. Of course, we've touched on several times what makes a deal, as long as you can buy it for a good enough price and sell it for a higher price and make profit in between and make it worth your time. So obviously you don't want it to take 10 hours and only make $10 because $1 an hour is not worth your time. So of course factor in your time in there as well. That's the only way you can really grow too, is by looking at all of the data that you've collected and then negotiating and building a pipeline. So once you get products or once you get cars or whatever you're getting, you want to be able to keep track of that so you can kind of keep track of your expenses and all the things you bought, what you bought it for, and just look at it over time and seeing if you're able to start buying things cheaper because you're getting better at negotiating, if your prices are getting higher because you're getting better at providing more value and communicating with potential buyers, and you're just able to look at a lot of those factors. So that's something that's really good to do as well once you do purchase the items. So next, getting into now that you have the item, what do you do with it? We'll get into what we did and what our process was. Of course, it's going to look a little different depending on what you're buying, but it's virtually the same. So you're going to add value to that product. If it's a car, obviously fix it. We recommend detailing, getting it all cleaned up, just because people like to envision themselves in that car. They don't want to see the person that owned it previously. Yeah,
presentation is everything. So whether it's a car, a couch, a piece of furniture, you don't want to have somebody come and then say a car, for example, it's all dirty inside. There's the person you bought it from, their old clothes and water bottles laying around. You want to get that all cleaned up, detailed, and looking nice. Same thing with the couch. You don't want a bunch of hair and stains on it. You want to clean it up. Presentation is everything. Take very good pictures. I think that's something that's really been key to my success in getting things sold, no matter whatever I've been flipping, is presentation. So like I said, having really good pictures and then just being really clear in the description as well.
Yeah, exactly. So like once you've added that value, so another way, like we said, is offering delivery, and I think just good communication, being professional, that's adding value to that person's life because it's easier for them to buy through you than it is to buy from somebody that's being difficult. Next, what you want to do is you want to list the items and you want to get what you're asking for or close to it, right? So key components in that, Tanner, like you said, having a really good description, having really good pictures, making sure that you're being professional, communicating efficiently and effectively. So getting your point across, answering their questions, and being quick with your responses. That's what we've noticed works for us. Then you want to find a buyer and negotiate with them. So that plays into getting what you asked for. Part of that is positioning yourself as the professional through your description and your account. But from there, people will start messaging you, and you have to learn how to negotiate. So
you want to be quick to respond.
Exactly. Too. I think some people, like when they message, they're just going to lowball you. And I would say this comes into even negotiating with yourself, like what you should sell things for. And just talking to yourself, like, because some people get these offers and they feel like scarcity and they think that they have to accept these low offers and then the profit just isn't there and they kind of scramble. So always make sure that you're not tying up all of your capital in there and then like biting your nails waiting for it to sell. And you just end up spending all that time and money and energy fixing it just to like barely make anything, if anything at all. So make sure that you have like all of that figured out, whether you're partnering with somebody using their capital and you don't want to tie up all of your money into it. You want to make sure that you are getting it with as little amount as possible. So with couches, we'd get a lot for free, and that would allow us to negotiate a little bit more and sell things quicker.
Yeah, most of the couches that we would get were actually free. Mm-hmm. And as far as selling things, no matter what it is, a couch, a car, or whatever, you only need one buyer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So try to be, as communicative as possible to those buyers that are trying to negotiate, but just make sure that you're not bending past an amount that you're comfortable with. And if it's only been like a day, then know that other people are going to message you, and not to freak out and think you have to sell it to this person because they're lowballing you. But always have your bottom price in mind and know that, like Tanner said, you only need one buyer. So you just need to find the right one that sees the value you bring. And I would say that's something that is key in getting what you're asking for, is making sure that you position yourself as the professional, and when you're negotiating, being confident in what you're providing and also listening to them too. So that's what's helped us with our success up to that point. Then from there, something that really helped us was delivery and pickup. So with delivery with the items, whatever it is, couches, other furniture and whatnot, we always offer a quick delivery. We are very communicative. We stick to the time that we say we're going to do, or we're communicating if we're going to be a little late. And you want to make sure that presentation is key. So we would wrap our furniture and make sure things were ready to go. Same thing with pickup. You want to make sure it's cleaned out. Kind of like Tanner said with the cars, you want to make sure all the trash is cleaned out, it's cleaned up, it's detailed as best as you can, and that it's sitting outside ready for them running if it's a car, and just that you're ready for them and prepared, because I think it just shows that you care more. So that's as far as delivery and pickup. And then something that's going to help you grow even more and scale is getting reviews, getting people to refer other people to you, which happened a lot with us. And then you want to talk about growth in business basics. So as far as reviews, that's really going to help push you forward. We had hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews, and that really helped build trust and credibility on these platforms, along with positioning ourselves as the professionals, having good description and such. And then as far as growth, the things that helped us grow, like we said, were all of the things that we previously talked about. And then getting bigger spaces, being able to do more. And how you do that is by looking at where you're currently at, looking at the data, and seeing where you could expand. So if your, say, average profit per couch is $200, you know that based on what other people are doing, you could probably increase that quite a bit. So in what ways could you do that? In what ways could you grow your profit and grow your revenue? Well, you could probably sell things for more. And then you look at, how would I do that? Well, maybe I'm going to get these types of couches, or I'm going to do more. How would I do more? Well, I probably need a bigger space, or I need some help. So you need to think about those things too as well when you want to push growth after you've already started and gotten those basics. As far as the business basics, we just want to touch on something that I previously touched on, which is making sure you're keeping track of that data and inventory. That's something that we kind of neglected in the beginning, but it is super crucial when growing. It's not completely necessary when you're first starting and learning, but it is something that I recommend doing as soon as you possibly can. And you can just do that through an Excel spreadsheet. And then also making sure you're tracking everything on QuickBooks, making sure you're doing your research as far as sales tax. And we would recommend getting an LLC, just separating yourself from your business and just getting everything professionalized. But that can come once you've dipped your toes in and kind of figured out what you're doing and what you're going to do. But yeah, that's as far as the timeline on how things work and the things that really helped push our growth. All right, so from here, how to get started. So a lot of you might be wondering, well, how do I get started, or where do I go from here? And we would say, obviously, keep watching Tanner's YouTube. I'm on there a lot too, and we make a ton of videos together. We have a ton of previously posted ones, some that we still have to catch up on, like we said, with posting, but we literally show day to day in real time what we're making, what we're cleaning, the before and afters. It shows a lot of really interesting information. Most of it is with furniture and couches, but we do touch on when we went back home and did that fall cleanup, and Tanner also talks about a lot of other stuff too with his journey. So definitely watch our YouTube, and you can start and learn on your own. That's something that we did. Tanner took years upon years of learning and making mistakes, losing money, making a lot of money. And so that's something that you can definitely do. We really want you guys to get started no matter what that looks like for you in your journey. But if you're interested in learning, fast tracking that learning instead of paying with your time and potentially losing money and making mistakes, you'd rather have that accountability, motivation, community, and just a tried and true proven system and access to people who have done it for years, then we do have a community that we have launched with tons of video resources on everything that we've discussed, business, everything we've learned in our entrepreneurial journey, and private community access to us and calls with us and such. So something that we do have available to you guys. Of course, either way, you should continue watching our YouTube and learn from that, because there's a lot of value on there as well. But again, you don't need us. You don't need to utilize us. It's just there if you feel like that's right for you. We know that with us investing tens of thousands of dollars into numerous mentorships and whatever endeavor we were doing, it really, really helped push us like years ahead of time and learn from somebody who's, been doing it for 5-10 years. And they can just tell you all the mistakes that they've made and help you navigate through a lot of those situations. Yeah, but if you're interested in learning more and have any questions for us, are ready to get started with us, then you can book a call. Either it'll be with Tanner, myself, or someone from our team to just go over everything that we offer. Yeah, but to go from here, again, it's completely optional. You can watch our YouTube and learn from there, but we really look forward to helping you at whatever capacity that looks like, and wish you the best in your endeavors.